Over the past few nights, Ukraine has faced something it hasn't seen in a long time. Kyiv, the capital, guarded by some of the most sophisticated air defense systems provided by the West, has once again become the center of destruction. But this time, there's something different. The attacks are coordinated, massive, relentless, and shockingly effective. Night after night, explosions ripple across the city, fires rise from the shadows, the skies light up with missile trails, and the distinct menacing hum of kamikaze drones. And as the smoke settles, a chilling question begins to form. What happened to the defenses? Where are the systems the world has praised so highly? And more importantly, has something fundamental shifted in this war? Between June 6th and June 10th, 2025, Russia launched a series of large-scale coordinated airstrikes across Ukrainian territory. It was one of the most intense operations in recent memory. The attacks came at night, every night, always under cover of darkness, exploiting the reduced visibility and slower reaction times of defense systems. First came waves of Geran-2 drones, Iran-designed, Russian-modified kamikaze drones that have become a symbol of Russia's evolving drone warfare. They swarmed low and fast, each carrying explosive payloads meant to destroy specific high-value targets. But the drones were just the beginning. After each drone wave came ballistic missiles, then cruise missiles, then another wave of drones. The timing was deliberate, each wave calculated to confuse, overwhelm, and punch through Ukrainian defenses. In Kyiv, large fires broke out across several industrial zones. Explosions rocked the outskirts of the capital. Emergency services scrambled to control the damage, but in many areas, flames burned throughout the night. This wasn't random destruction. The targets were carefully chosen: power grids, transport lines, communication centers, arms depots, and key industrial plants. The focus was infrastructure, the very backbone of Ukraine's war effort. Odessa wasn't spared either. Missile strikes hit ports and surrounding military warehouses. The message was unmistakable. Russia was pushing back hard. Not long after, Russia's Ministry of Defense publicly confirmed what many had suspected. The strikes were not just drone attacks. They involved Russia's strategic air fleet, specifically the deployment of long-range Tu-95MS bombers. These aircraft are legendary, Cold War giants with 4 turboprop engines capable of flying thousands of kilometers without refueling. In this operation, they weren't flying empty. They were loaded with Kh-101 cruise missiles. Long-range, precision-guided, and notoriously hard to intercept. The Kh-101 is one of Russia's most advanced air-launched weapons. It uses stealth features and terrain-following flight paths to slip past radar. And when launched in salvos, they can overwhelm most standard air defense networks. This marked a significant escalation. Instead of relying on ground-based artillery or drone-only strikes, Russia had committed its strategic bombers to a coordinated strike campaign, a clear sign that Moscow was turning up the pressure with full-spectrum capabilities. Which leads to a troubling question, one that's being asked not just in Ukraine, but in every NATO country watching closely. Where are the air defenses? Ukraine had been equipped with some of the most modern systems available. The Patriot missile system from the United States, designed to intercept high-speed ballistic threats. The German-made Iris-T system, agile and effective against cruise missiles. The NASAMS platform, battle-proven. And the French-Italian SAM-PT, with long-range intercept capability. Together, these were supposed to form an integrated shield over Ukraine's critical infrastructure. But in these most recent attacks, that shield appears to have failed. The scale of destruction, the number of successful missile strikes, and the repeated success of kamikaze drones suggest something alarming. Ukraine's air defense grid may be overstretched, or worse, it may be running out of ammunition. Another possibility is that Russian forces have adapted. By combining various types of missiles and drones in specific waves and timings, they may be bypassing key defensive layers, exploiting the gaps between radar zones, jamming communication signals, and forcing interception systems to choose between multiple incoming threats. Whatever the reason, the skies over Ukraine are far from secure. This war has long since stopped being just about Ukraine and Russia. What we're witnessing now is something bigger, a geopolitical confrontation between Moscow and NATO, with Ukraine caught in the middle. Since the early stages of the conflict, NATO countries have poured billions of dollars in military aid, logistics, intelligence, and training into Ukraine. Cutting-edge weapons, battlefield surveillance, and even satellite guidance have come from Western sources. And while this support has kept Ukraine in the fight, it has also transformed the country into the West's front line against Russian influence. Some analysts now argue that Ukraine has effectively become a strategic pawn, a testing ground for NATO systems, tactics, and technologies. But unlike its NATO backers, Ukraine is paying the full price, not in dollars, but in lives, infrastructure, and the slow erosion of national morale. And for Russia, this is not just about military gains. It's about proving that no amount of Western support can stop Moscow from asserting its will. What's striking is how little Russia seems to be deterred, even with NATO weapons, NATO training, and NATO surveillance involved. In fact, the opposite appears true. With each new wave of strikes, Russia shows more confidence, more precision, and a broader range of weaponry. It's as if Moscow is sending a message, not just to Kyiv, but to Washington, Berlin, London, and Brussels. We're not afraid, and we're not backing down. From the use of hypersonic missiles to drone swarms, and now strategic bombers, Russia is treating this war as both a battleground and a showcase, a testbed for its next-generation military doctrine. Rather than avoid confrontation, Russia is leaning into it, pushing the limits, probing the West's response, and watching carefully for signs of hesitation. So far, they haven't seen much to stop them. The war in Ukraine is evolving. The strikes from June 6th to June 10th were not just military operations. They were signals of intent, of escalation, and of endurance. Russia is pushing forward, no longer deterred by the presence of NATO-backed systems. And Ukraine, despite incredible bravery and global support, is struggling to keep up, physically and mentally. What happens next remains unclear. But one thing is certain, the skies over Ukraine are no longer a battleground of equals. They've become a proving ground, and every night they burn with the consequences. This content is created solely for educational and informational purposes. It is intended to provide insights based on verified data, credible sources, and careful analysis. Our goal is to foster a deeper understanding of modern military technology and current events, not to promote or endorse any form of conflict, propaganda, or political agenda. We strictly oppose the spread of misinformation and hoaxes. Every piece of information presented has been carefully sourced from reliable, publicly available references. We encourage viewers to approach the topic with critical thinking and respect for all sides involved, maintaining a focus on knowledge sharing and open discussion.